Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's up YouTube, Diggy546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video, and I won't tell if you click that bell. But let's go ahead and get into this. So first off, I want to highlight the coaching staff. They surprised me. They had these players ready to go. Defense, they looked like they knew the playbook. Offense, they looked like they knew the playbook. There were no, busted coverages on defense. Guys were beat, but there was no busted coverages. On offense, I didn't really see too much miscommunication going on, and everyone looked comfortable. So kudos to these coaches. Special teams, Thomas McGahee had these guys ready. They made that first play. Yes, he muffed the punt, but that's a play to make to get on top of that football. I wish they would have scored because we ended up not getting a touchdown on that drive. So I wish they would have scored, but special teams did their job on that play. Offense was supposed to score. Jason Garrett, he had a lot of good play designs as far as play actions, screens. He had a lot of good misdirection going on. So I like those play designs, but three things. His run design was very strange. He kept leaving Bud Dupree unblocked. He didn't make any adjustments because you're leaving him unblocked, but the front side wasn't winning their matchup. So there's no cutback and there's no hole on the front side. So there was nowhere for Saquon to go, and I would expect he would make some kind of adjustment, but he didn't. Next week, when the Bears look at this tape and they say, why don't we just sell out and send everybody against Saquon, hopefully he makes an adjustment. However, the play design and the play calling on pass plays, very good. I liked his pass plays. I liked the distance that Daniel Jones was throwing the ball. I liked the aggressiveness that Daniel Jones displayed. He wasn't scared to throw the ball down the field. And if you look at his two turnovers, one, just a tremendous play by TJ Watt. He looked like he was rushing, and then he dropped back at the last second and picked that off, which Evan Ingram wouldn't have been able to make that catch. So the second interception, just a bad decision, but not necessarily a throw down the field where he's misreading the coverage and he's, throwing an interception. Patrick Graham, this was just such a breath of fresh air. We were out there in a chameleon-style defense. The defensive line wasn't really solid. They didn't know what we were running. And at the beginning of the game, that really had been off guard. We really should have taken control of the game at that point. If our offense was clicking earlier, we would have been able to take control and build a sizable lead because Ben was completely off. He looked a little rusty, anxious, confused, and that was our time to build a lead, but we didn't. So that's how we ended up losing the game. Pretty much through three quarters, we had consistent pressure on big men. Consistent pressure, which I did not expect at all. I didn't expect us to get a pass rush. I expected us to, stop the run, which, people want to point out the stats. But if you look at the game through the first three quarters, no one was running the ball on either side. No one was really able to establish any kind of a run besides the two quarterbacks, to be honest. In the fourth quarter, that changed. He had a couple of breakouts, but the defense was gassed at that point. The offense could not sustain drive. Overall, this team took on the identity of his head coach. Physical, serious, attention to detail. We had a couple of false starts, but for the most part, I think I'm pleased with this football team as far as how physical they were. They had a new energy. They weren't out there lazy, shrugging their shoulders like, how they were last year. So the standouts, Darius Slayton, he was a 5th-round pick last year, and already in his second year, he's our #1 receiver. I started him in my fantasy league, and some people were too scared to because the Steelers defense is just so good, but I still felt that he was going to have a good game. He really wasn't able to be covered the entire time, and he's not even the best route runner yet, but on those comebacks, on those posts, on those streaks, he is a difference maker. He's a 4'3" guy. He's got a little height to him. So it's always exciting to see him get out into those deep routes, and I'm expecting to see a lot more of that. I'm thinking he's going to go over 10 touchdowns this year and probably over 1,200, 1,300 yards. I was expecting more from Ingram, but that'll be in my second part. A lot of people didn't want to start Darius Slayton in their fantasy leagues, or they didn't think he'd have that good of a game because they thought that we'd have issues in pass protection, which brings me to my next standout player. Andrew Thomas, our first round pick in his first ever game with no preseason against Bud Dupree and Cam Hayward, he did not give up anything. He didn't give up anything. I think he gave up maybe one pressure to Bud Dupree, but other than that, he was solid all night. He didn't give no pressures, no sacks, besides that one for Bud Dupree. But he pretty much blocked Bud the entire night and handled him well. Was giving Daniel Jones 3-4 seconds. So I'm really excited about that. A lot of people want to blame the run plays on him, but you have to pay attention. Andrew Thomas was supposed to chip, help out the guard on that defensive line and then get to the linebacker. And Bud Dupree was supposed to be left unblocked. And Saquon was supposed to run to the right side, which is the front side of the play. He wasn't getting any blocks there. So Andrew Thomas was doing his job. That was not Andrew Thomas's fault. When you did see him putting his hands on people in the run game, they were moving. Now next up, more standout players: Leonard Williams, Lorenzo Carter, and Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence got a sack. Leonard Williams got a sack. Lorenzo Carter set up a sack, I think, for Dexter Lawrence. So these guys were in the backfield. They were pressuring Ben, and it was just amazing. I did not expect a pass rush, and these three guys all together were wrecking havoc. They were in that backfield. They were making it uncomfortable, and Ben had to make hot reads a bunch of times. He had to throw the ball very fast a bunch of times, and if Marcus Golden and Kyler Fackrell can step up too in the coming weeks, we're really going to have a lot of strength. And then finally, on my standout players, I'll say good Daniel Jones. This is the Daniel Jones that showed up on that 19-play drive before the end. He made great throws in the tight windows on third down, on third and longs, multiple times. He ran when he needed to. He protected the football with both hands in the pocket multiple times. And I just say congratulations. Thank you so much for protecting the football. Yes, he had those two plays. One was just TJ Watt making a tremendous play. I don't really put that on him. And then the second one was just a bad decision. But going forward, if he can hold on to the ball like he did, especially about how many times he got hit, I think that is a plus going forward. Blake Martinez with that number 54, first of all, it looks funny, it looks hilarious, because he's about the same weight as Olivier Vernon, and he's wearing 54, and you're like, why is that defensive lineman out there and, running around at linebacker? But that is Blake Martinez, and he's moving out there fast. He's fast, he's physical, especially on that first drive where I saw him, make a beeline to, I think, the running back in the flat and just lay a hit on him. Blake Martinez played well. He was all over the field, 12 tackles, and I liked what I saw from him. He's faster than I thought he was, and I like him in the middle of our defense. So next up, these are the players that were disappointing to me. Evan Ingram. He was targeted 7 times. He caught 2 passes and got about 7 yards or 6 yards. Something just putrid. He had a horrible drop. On I think a first or second down. He had a drive-killing drop. He had a push-off, which was kind of controversial. You could kind of put it either way, but either way, he didn't make that play because they called it off. And he was horrible in blocking. He was just horrible at it. And he wasn't getting separation, which is strange because usually he's a guy that's, really athletic, can really get away from people. But Devin Bush and guys like Minka Fitzpatrick and, maybe even their slot corner, Mike Hilton, who grabbed Evan Ingram's glove on one play. It was completely pass interference, but they didn't catch it. But they had him shadowed. He couldn't get open. We need better from Evan Ingram in this offense, because if he was able to get going in that middle of the field, that would open up things for so many other people, because if the linebackers are actually worried about, Evan Ingram might, get the ball and he might turn up the field and, score a touchdown, they might have been less likely to focus completely on Saquon Barkley. So we need more from Evan Ingram, and it was really a disappointing game, to be honest. Next player, Fleming. Disappointment. I know he's not an all-pro. I know he's not a Pro Bowler, but I expected this guy to at least be a low-end starter. And you cannot get blown off the football like that repeatedly. He was decent in pass coverage. TJ Watt was not getting instant pressure all game. He did a couple times, but he was decent in pass coverage. But in the running game, he was horrible. He got blown off of the football routinely, and there was nowhere for Saquon to go. And it's so frustrating because we can't get that right tackle right. So that's definitely a disappointment. I was expecting him to play better than that. And people would say he's going against TJ Watt, which is a good point. But next week he's going against Khalil Mack. The week after he's going against Bosa. So he's going to have to play better. He just has to. For us to be successful in the future, he's going to have to at least be average. You cannot at least hold your ground on the right side, and Saquon can do the rest. And then next up, I guess I'll say Saquon. Yes, there was nowhere for him to run, and I'm not saying that this is his fault, but it was disappointing. You expect more from him. He was okay in the passing game. He caught a couple of passes, I think 6 passes for 60 yards. So he was okay in the passing game, but in the run game, maybe 2 of those plays where he, wasn't able to do anything, maybe 2 of those plays he was on another day, he'd be able to turn it into a huge play. He's seen as a top tier running back, and you got to make something happen. That was a tall task because the entire defense was keyed on him, and there was really nowhere for him to go, but still, nonetheless, a disappointing game for 15 carries for 6 yards. And then lastly, disappointment, bad DJ. Bad Daniel Jones threw that horrible pass when we had the chance to take the lead. He had another time where the interception to TJ Watt, yes, that's mostly a play by TJ Watt. It's still an interception that you threw. And that was when we had an opportunity to go the length of the field and score and go up 2 possessions. Those 2 plays pretty much stopped us from being able to win, and also not being able to connect with Evan Ingram. So I don't know if that was Ingram's fault or DJ's fault, but both of them are on this list. So them not being able to connect on that goal line, on that second drive we had on their goal line, that was disappointing. I would say those 3 plays are pretty much how we lost this game. Overall, I like the energy that the team came out with. I like that we didn't give up. I liked how the defense looked, but we lost the game. Good news is we have a chance to bounce back. We're not going to be facing the Steelers every week, but we do face the Bears and the 49ers the next 2 weeks. So they'll be able to kind of pattern their game plan after what the Steelers did. We have a chance to, adjust, get better, and I think we'll be better next week and, the following week and the following week. I took a lot of great things from this game, but of course you want to come out with the win. But if you made it this deep into the video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be coming out with more Giants content on a weekly basis, NFL content on a weekly basis, and hope you like it. Until next time, Steve546, I'm out.